Morning, everyone. Are you grateful for this church and this community? Man, every Saturday, and I'm not just saying this, but when I can be at the front row and just hear everyone singing, and we have the kids kicking off church this morning, like something good is happening here. And God is up to something awesome. And I love this community. I love that you're a part of this community. If it's your first time here today, I want you to know that we're a church that is for you. Over the past 3 weeks, we've tried to be exploring that churches are actually for people. Often we've messed that up, and a lot of people know what the church is actually not for more than what we're actually for. But I hope you know that we're for you. We're shouting your name, we're encouraging you, and we actually here to journey alongside you because we believe that we serve a God who is completely for us. He is for us in the past, in the present, in the future. He will always be for us. So welcome to Grace Gate. If you haven't got to know the person next to you, just greet them and say hi. And ask them quickly how their week was. All right, I hope that you guys have had a good week. Our staff team this week, we went to a leadership conference and with a pastor called Craig Rochelle. He's a phenomenal leader. And we came back and I think all of us were just so inspired at the potential that the local church has, that this community has when we're all leading well. And we were encouraged. We came back just sharing, man, how encouraging it was to listen to Craig Rochelle. And he is actually the guy who is going to be leading the GLS, which is the Global Leadership Summit. And at Grace Gate, we're all about leadership. We're all for leadership because we believe that as leaders, when we get better, everyone gets better. And when we're actually leading well, we can make a bigger difference in our community. So at Grace Gate, every single year, we host a thing called the Global Leadership Summit. Craig Rochelle is actually just going to give a glimpse of what that actually is about. So we've got a short video to show you more about what it is.
And it's my great honor to partner with the Global Leadership Network and with you to build leaders in your community and all over the world. In fact, it was about 2.5 decades ago that I sat in a seat at the Global Leadership Summit, and my faith was so stirred that Amy, my wife, and I took the next step, and we started Life Church. Who knows how your life, how your leadership, how your family might be different if you join us this year for the Global Leadership Summit. Let me encourage you to go ahead and register. Invite friends, invite coworkers. You might think, well, I'm not really a leader. Let me be very clear. Leadership is influence, and you have influence. You'll grow in your influence, you'll grow in your leadership competence, and you will make a difference. Join me this year at the Global Leadership Summit because we know that everyone wins when the leader gets better.
So we're going to be hosting this GLS, and it is on, I think it is November 14 and 15. We got some pamphlets that we're going to hand out right now. I would really strongly encourage everyone to attend this. It is phenomenal content. It happens on a Thursday evening and the whole day Friday. And this is for everyone. This is for fathers, for business leaders, for mothers, for students, for everyone who feels like, hey, I've got so much more potential. And some of the greatest stories come from these summits where people have actually sat under some of these teachings and just realized, hey, I've got so much more that I can offer. And so we want to encourage you. We wanted to do this today because the early bird rate is actually ending on the 31st of July. So if this sounds like you, or even if it doesn't sound like you, I want to encourage you to actually come and attend this conference. It is phenomenal content. And for those who don't know Craig Rochelle's church, he has a church attendance of over 100,000 every weekend, all right? So it's phenomenal leadership and what they do as a church community. And I think we haven't reached that yet. So there's still a lot of room for growth here at Gracegate, right? Awesome. So please make sure, if you want to be a part of that, that you register. Other than that, over the past 2 weeks, and today's the last weekend that we're going to be doing this, but we've been interviewing a whole different bunch of people and just listening to stories and what God has been doing in some of the environments here at Gracegate. And today we've got 2 more groups of people that we're going to interview. So we're going to kick it off right away with our first group, which is our A-team environment. And we're going to get today just 2 of those people, and that's going to be Lindsay and Prashanti, who are going to come and join me on stage. So can we give them a big hand as we welcome them to the stage? Feel free to grab any chair there. All right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Prashanti. And Lindsay. Okay, can I help you guys? There we are. That one's good. And that one's good. All right. So, wow, I feel so high. All right. I don't know if everybody knows you guys, so maybe you could give a quick intro into who you are, maybe your family, and the A-team. Where are you connected in the A-team, or how long have you been connected with the A-team or Gracegate?
So my name is Lindsay. What's my claim to fame around here is pretty much dad to Megan and Ben. I've been involved in A-team since 2018, probably a bit before that, but yeah.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Prashanti, and I am mom to Jordan and Josh.
Yeah.
And I've been in the kitchen from the time that I've been at Gracegate, which is from 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, from the day you were made pastor of the church.
Wow. I remember that day. I can remember it clearly when Prashanti and Warren joined us for the first time. So, for those who don't know what the A-team is, right? What is the A-team all about? Who would like to? Yeah, that's all right. They're having their own interview, yeah. What is the A-team all about?
The A-team is just everyone who helps serving around here, so I think it includes the people who greet, the people in the kitchen who help with food, Malcolm and Alan who do dishes afterwards, and everyone who helps them, coffee, just everyone who's helping out do stuff.
Okay. That's all good. So currently, I think there are some people in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Who are actually preparing the food, who are on the A-team, so that when we leave after this program today, there's going to be a whole meal on the table there. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. But one of the things I've realized, Prashanti, and maybe you could help, is that it doesn't just happen on a Saturday morning. How does a normal week look like leading up to helping serve food at Gracegate?
Yeah, I think, just knowing that, hey, next week is soup and buns or whatever, and just making sure that we have those at home, and Friday is about preparing for it, and, maybe pre-boiling or pre-baking and having stuff ready for. So it's a bit of a process, actually. It's just not us just coming in here on Saturday morning and just doing whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, why do you guys actually do that? Why do you volunteer to actually come and serve, to prepare food? Why do you, Lindsay, like today, you were on the coffee machine. Why do you come to church early on a Saturday morning, get behind the coffee machine to make sure that, people can get a free coffee?
Look, there's a whole range of reasons there. Part of it is because Megan and Ben are doing so much and I have to be here anyway. But look, it's like doing coffee, doing stuff in the, dishes in the kitchen. I don't cook. it's so different what I do throughout the week. So I actually really enjoy it. And I think the thing I really get out of it is it forces me to meet so many new people that I maybe wouldn't otherwise. Like just today, I got to help Jasmine on coffee, and we got a chance to chat. That wouldn't happen otherwise. So, I get good value out of it because I think it means I'm part of our community here at Gracegate.
All right. Awesome.
For me, it is, I think, totally opposite. I work with children, so it's like full-on week. Going into the kitchen is my happy place of, doing what I love, and that is cooking and preparing, and just knowing that what we are doing in the kitchen and having it out there, and seeing you guys come out there and, mingling with each other, and it gives that opportunity for people to actually meet up and chat and have conversations and do life together in a sense. And that is what we are preparing for in there. And that is quite special for me personally. And I know that even for people like Ross or Patsy or Grace and whoever who's in that kitchen, that is quite important for them as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely way to be able to be part of a church community and actually serve all of you.
Awesome. Well, Prashanti, we love you guys just serving us every weekend, and I know it's a tough job. This week, I've actually started cooking. I don't cook that much, all right? But someone in our church actually gave us a free, what do you call it? It's like those food boxes with all that. Yes. And so I've been reading all the instructions and doing that, and they give us a time limit, which, has been taking a lot longer with me. But we really value the food that you guys prepare for us and the way you guys serve us. If you haven't had Prashanti's curry yet, make sure you get an invite and actually taste that. It's great. Just thank you for serving. But I want to ask you guys, serving is one aspect, helping our community. It truly does help our community. But how is this actually helping you grow in your faith journey with Jesus?
How does it help me grow in faith? I think, for me, serving is the practice of that faith. At Gracegate, we get a lot of good knowledge in the talks and stuff, and that's part of faith. But for me, the experience of faith is that much more important. And we get that in community. Walter said that really well last week. When 2 or 3 are gathered, that's where God is in community. And community is just people who are looking out for each other, serving each other, helping each other. And that's where I think I experience God, and that's such an important part of faith. So, for me, serving is just practicing faith. And like anything, the more you practice it, the more it grows.
I think I would agree with Lindsay here, actually. And being in the kitchen actually gives us the opportunity, because there are, most of the times there are 2 or 3 in the kitchen. And so we are able to, although we are cooking and preparing and whatever, it gives us the time to talk to each other as well and share, have fun. We are always laughing in there and singing and all of that as well. So it is a fun place to be, actually. But just to be able to connect with each other as well and support each other, and we can share stuff that we're going through or whatever, because we do that together, we grow together as well.
Yeah.
And I find that I've made great friendships. One is because I've served in the kitchen, and I think that is one way that I'm growing my faith as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I was just thinking while you were sharing that, like that's where you meet some of the, and you become good friends with people at Gracegate. Most of the time is in the environments that you can serve together. So thank you so much, Prashanti. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I want to ask one more question though. And that is this, like some of us are just thinking, hey, that's cool. Thank you for doing what you guys do. And as if like that's, that gap's filled. But we know realistically every single weekend we need people in the kitchen or we need people serving on the A team in so many different environments. How would you encourage someone if they were looking to get involved in serving in the A team? How could they get involved?
I just think that if you feel that you would like to be part of a team here, I mean, we are all family, but to be part of a team, and if you feel that, hey, I would love to try cooking or love learning to make coffee or whatever, that you would honestly take that step. I think it's amazing to be able to be part of a team here. And we, like I said, we do fun stuff, right? I would say, please join us. We would make you feel very welcome, trust me, because we do need people. Sometimes I find that, we are, sorry, what I wanted to say was that sometimes I'm not on the roster, but I'm still happy to be there because it's that fun place that you're part of, and you're still having fun in there, and then you come in and join here. So please feel, happy to join us and just come talk to us or, whoever, and be part of the group, please.
Thanks, Prashanti. How about you, Lindsay? Got anything?
Yeah, look, just ask. I think, in the area that you think you want to serve, or talk to one of the team. There's a couple of guys with South African accents and not much hair at top. Talk to one of them.
Cool.
They'll help you out.
Cool. I'm just going to take it. Awesome. Cool. He's on the A team. He serves, so we can't fight. Cool. Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys. But also, I know in this audience right now, there's a lot of A team people. The people who are in the kitchen, those who get to church early on a Saturday morning to welcome people, just to say, hey, we are glad that you're here, to serve after church when it's all the dishes that need to be cleaned up, all the tables that need to be set up and taken down. We really appreciate it. It makes a difference. We value engaging here at Gracegate, and this is a way that, we're better together. So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys coming on stage. Thank you. All right, today we've got one more group, and this group I think is, we saved the best for last, and they are, I don't know how to explain it, but actually the life of this church as well, because if you go to other churches, and a lot of other churches, you don't see a lot of young adults, and it's our young adult environment. It's Spark, so I've asked some of them to join me up on stage today. So let's give a hand to all the Spark guys who'll be up here. All right. Thank you, guys. Have we saved the best for last?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes, very much so.
All right. So for those who don't know anything about Spark and are just thinking, man, Spark, is that the telephone company? Yeah. Can you guys just clarify what Spark is all about? I don't know who'd like to take that.
Okay, I'll do it. So hi, my name is Jordan. And Spark is basically the young adults community. So if you're a young adult between the ages of 18 to 30, you're considered Spark. And so Spark is then broken up into 3 different kind of things that we do. So we do life group on a Wednesday, and then we do coffee hangs on a Saturday after church, and then we try and organize hangouts during the week. So last night we had pizza at these guys' houses and played card games, so that was awesome. Cool. It's the young adults.
That's good. So can the rest of you guys just tell us who you are? How long have you been connected to Gracegate or Spark?
I'm Tobias. I've been at Spark for nearly a year. So towards the end of last year, I joined.
Yeah, I've been at Spark for a year and a half, and then Gracegate for about a year.
Awesome. Cool.
The church, as opposed to. I started at young adults, and they moved into coming to the services.
Cool.
My name's Sam, and I've been a part of Spark for about a year and a half, and I got to join church this year, which was great. It was nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I've been part of the Spark team probably since we began this journey in 2015. Feels like a lot longer than that.
Cool.
With all the things we've learned.
Nate, maybe you could just clarify, how did Spark get its name? Can you remember?
I mean, all that I remember is we kind of sat in a room one evening and brainstormed for a few hours about everything that we wanted for the young adults, and then kind of filtered it down to get to like that name. And I think when we had the short list, it kind of made sense because it flowed with like our radiate, fuel, spark kind of thing.
Cool. And I think I can remember we came up, we had the name before the telecommunication company. So yeah.
We did. It was probably about a week or two, if you believe us.
Yeah. And then we just went with it because we said, well, they've built the Spark Arena for us. We'll take it over one day. So yeah.
Someone actually confused me with it. I was telling them, I help with like Spark, and they're like, whoa, really? You're only 19. How did you get that? I'm like, no, it's a church thing, not the actual
Cool.
telecommuter.
All right. So thanks for clarifying. Tell us quickly, how did you guys all get connected in Spark? Who'd like to share a bit about how you got connected in Spark?
Okay, actually, my auntie's really good friends with Lenny, and I just moved up to Auckland looking for a church and a young adults group, and my auntie, who's not a Christian, was like, you need to find a church, I know someone. And then, yeah, she connected with me and Glenny was like, yeah, come join Spark.
Awesome. And Sam, so you've been connected with Spark, and maybe what has Spark personally meant for you? Sorry, George.
I think it's actually, I don't know, it's really important to me as a young adult having a group of people who are the same age, also on some sort of, like not just faith journey, but also life journey together, and we can kind of come together and hang out and have fun and, you know, like download and learn more about how to do different ways of life and about God and different ways of doing our faith, and I think that's really, really important.
Awesome. Incredible. Thanks, Sam. Who else would like to share?
Yeah, so I started joining Spark because I got to know a few of these guys from outside of church, just through Genevieve. If you know any of them, I met a few of the guys, and they just invited me along to the Young Adults Night, and I started coming and haven't left since.
Awesome. Great. And for you, Amy, what is attending this environment and being part of this environment meant for you personally?
It's just been community and family. I mean, the whole church, but also specifically the young adults, the people to laugh with, people to pray with, people that care about how I'm doing, who I am, how I'm growing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
So I got into Spark and Gracegate towards the end of last year after arriving back from America teaching circus at a summer camp. And I'd just gone through a really tough time. And my first time at Gracegate after church, Amy invited me along because she'd been coming for a little bit. And after church, I started talking to Jordan. And we had this deep conversation. You remember? And it was an incredible moment for me, realizing that there was this community, these people who are out there supporting and loving and getting to know people. And leading on from that, I got into Spark. I started attending the Young Adults Nights and building relationship. And for me, I think the biggest impact Spark has made in my life is having these people around me to support me, to love me, to talk with me and discuss deep topics and issues I'm having and questions I'm having, you know, especially people like Nate and Jordan. They've really fed into my life for the past year. It's been quite incredible.
Incredible. You've touched on the next question that I was going to ask Tobias, but it's also like, how has Spark challenged you to move in a positive direction in life? Have there been some elements in this environment that has motivated you to, hey, actually, I want to move in this direction in my life?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing is like when I first started coming to Spark, I was just attending it, and Nate was leading it, and then over the course of like studies and working at Grayscale and stuff, then slowly came into leadership and all that. So there's that aspect of it, and that growth has been exponential. But even the faith journey part of it, it's just actually been really awesome, because we've just ended up having a lot of great conversations, and often conversations that have challenged me in my understanding of who God is. And so there have been times where I've been chatting with Nate or with Tobias or even Sam and Amy and some of the others, and I wouldn't necessarily agree with them, but I actually would go home and I'd think about it and be like, actually, you know what? That fits in with my understanding, or that has shifted my understanding to see a clearer vision of who God is. So I guess that's for me. Yeah.
All right.
I think for me, it's also a lot the connections with people. So people that I'll see who will inspire me about where they are, and people who also just know me and so will call me to higher things, to speak into my life about leadership and growth. And yeah, it's just really inspiring, and there's just that authenticity about people know you, so you want to grow and have those conversations.
If there are some young adults in the audience today, why do you feel that they should be a part of this community? What do you think is, the reason they should be a part of this community?
Spark is a place where you are welcomed and loved for who you are, including all of your quirks and your weirdness. I know Gracegate as a whole also has this community feel, so Spark is like that, and with a little bit of focus towards young adults.
Cool. What do you say, Nate?
Yeah, I think Jordan captured it perfectly when he said Spark is this young adults community. So as soon as you walk in these doors of Gracegate and you're a young adult, welcome to Spark. You're part of Spark. You are the Spark community. And I think I would encourage anyone that's a young adult, anyone that knows a young adult, to get a part of going deeper with Spark, being like in a life group. You want to connect and you want to just unpack what the Bible is in a similar way to what Wes did in that series, Field Guide to the Bible, because a lot of us have no idea about this thing. You know, we might have grown up in church and we kind of just do the motions, but we didn't go deep, or we've turned up and we don't know anything about this God. And so we're learning together and we're bouncing ideas, like Jordan said, off each other. And slowly, like, there's no one person that knows, like, everything. Sometimes the person who just sits there quiet, you know, sits there for 3 weeks, says nothing, says something, and everyone's just, blown away. And, like, they'll see, like, are you kidding me? Is that what that verse is trying to get? Well, none of us have got that. And so, like, I think of it kind of like we've gone around a slippery corner and we've just overcorrected, and kind of like we're just doing this, and like this journey that Spark's taken, we're always trying to get the same direction. It doesn't always look nice. It's a bit messy, and we're overcorrecting, and we're drifting around corners. But we know the direction we want. And so I think if you know a young adult, or you are a young adult sitting in here, like, you'll know that one of the biggest things we struggle with as young adults, and I say we because I mean is like sometimes naturally young adults just want to fall back into being in isolation. You know, with high school kids, at least they have school, they're in regular community. But as young adults, there's nothing that requires us to be anywhere. We're at that stage of life. We can just do life on our own and be happy with it. But being in community, where we got those guys on our left and our right, it is like, yo, how you doing? And we're like, oh, I know you're doing that in your life, but I actually think you got so much more potential for something else, as well as unpacking just what it means to follow this guy Jesus and everything that he wants for us. And so it's not purely just the traditional, we just sit down and read the Bible. That's part of it, but we actually have fun. We want to play games and make pizzas and go late night tempo bowling or whatever it is. And I think as a young adult, being in community, I know it's for everyone, but it's so important for us at this stage of life, because this is where we kind of set that trajectory, where we're coming out of high school, we're deciding where we want to go in life. So yeah, it's for me, because this is a journey that I started out not wanting to be a part of. It's kind of like, I can see the importance, but so I'll come along, and then realizing how beneficial it is for me. So that's the long-winded answer. But I think
That's good.
everyone sitting in this room knows a young adult. They're like, man, you should just come check out this place. Whether you know anything about us, be like, there is a place for young adults so they can feel welcome and find direction in life.
So every Wednesday night, you guys get together. You are doing it sometimes at Gracegate, other times also at people's houses. And then after church, every Saturday, what do you guys get up to?
After church every Saturday, we like to go and have coffee, just somewhere with all the young adults, just to catch up and actually just have, chill-as conversations with all the young adults that come along. It's super fun. Today, actually, we're going to the Glass House. So anyone in this audience who is a young adult, whether you've actually interacted with, with us leaders or not, you are completely and totally welcome to come along to coffee after church today as well, as all our Wednesday nights as well. But coffee is just a place where we like to just catch up with people and just catch up on everyone's lives and see how everyone's going and meet new people and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, Sam. And where can people discover what's happening at Spark? Where can they see every time what's going on, where you guys are meeting?
Yeah, so we've got a Facebook page. And so if you come and chat to any one of us, we'll go and add you, and then we post on there basically everything that we're doing. We're revamping our Instagram, so keep an eye out for that. We got someone on board doing that. So basically those two big things, or you can literally just come chat to us. Send us a text, send me an email, anything. I don't know if young adults email. No, we don't actually. Facebook message is probably the best.
Did you say DM?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh.
Slide into my DMs. I don't know. No? That's all right. So you just contact
Jordan
us.
at 30 or at Jordan 30.
Okay. Any other thoughts, guys, that you want to share with the church about Spark? All right, I've got one more question. Have you guys ever been kicked out of a cafe after a Saturday afternoon?
Kicked out of a cafe?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
But we have
That's
taken
good.
over cafes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big community that goes, but that's encouraging to hear. I love these guys. Just this past week, I know a few of them met together, and they sat for, I don't know how many hours, probably about 4 hours, chatting about this environment, brainstorming, saying what's working, what's not working, how can we get better at reaching young adults in our community. So I honestly love you guys. I love you guys hard. Everybody who's a part of this community, everyone who's attended, I know says, hey, they feel at home straight away. So thank you for what you guys are doing. And if, you want to find out more, have a chat with them after church today. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Have you been encouraged? Yeah. There's so many different environments. Thanks, Nate. At Gracegate, and I know there's still a lot of environments that we're not reaching, but there's so many areas that this church is actually reaching, and I'm so passionate about what is going on. Over the past 3 weeks, we've just heard stories, we've seen how people are connected, we're seeing our values being lived out, how people are feeling like that they're actually a part of this church, they're discovering more about their faith, more about God, also that they're engaging, that they're actually volunteering, that they're giving up their time to be a part of this community. So it is super encouraging for me to be a part of this church, that we know what we're for and that we can continually communicate that we're a church that is for young teenage mums. We're a church that's for people who are going hard in life. We're a church that's for our kids. We're a church that is for all our young adults. We're a church that is for our teenagers. There's so many different environments that Gracegate, and that is super encouraging to know. And where we get this from is, because I don't want us to miss this, where we get this from is just a response to what God has done for us. And there's a verse that I want to share with you guys today. It's probably one of the most well-known Bible verses in the Christian world, but it is this verse, John chapter 3, verse 16. And it's about a guy named Nicodemus who's actually seeing the church and Jesus do something supernatural when Jesus actually comes to this earth. And he sees something shifting amongst the church where Jesus is actually meeting people's needs. He's walking across the room. He's getting to know people. He's loving on people. He's healing people. And Nicodemus, who's actually a Pharisee, who actually knows everything there is to know about God, is finding this really troubling. And he has this conversation with Jesus late at night. He gets to actually meet him, and he has this conversation. And then this verse comes up. And if we could maybe get it on the screen there, Damien. But this is what it says. It says, "For God so loved the world." And I love that verse because it starts off with what? For, right? For. And it says, "For God." And I don't know if you know this or not, but I hope you leave today knowing this, that God is for you. All right? He'll always be for you. There is nothing you can do or not do that will make God change his mind. He loves you unconditionally. All right, and he loves you in the past, he loves you now, currently, and even in your future. It will never, ever change. And I love this verse because it shows us also who initiates the first step, that it is God who initiates the first step. It says, "For God so loved." And I love this "so loved" because it shows that God is like he's irrationally in love with you, unconditionally in love with you. There is nothing that can separate, all right, his love that he has for each and every one of us. It's almost like, and I don't want to put it in this context, that he's almost like stalking us all the time with his love, all right? That's how much he loves us. He cares about us. And it can never, ever, ever change. And it says, "For God so loved," and it goes then, "the world." And I love this piece because we often skip over what the world actually looks like. But the world, if you look at it, isn't this clean, pretty, nice round ball. But actually when we see the world, we see a lot of darkness. We see a lot of sadness. We see a lot of hurt. In our community, we see that. We experience it. We see a lot of brokenness. In our community, today, there's some of us who are sitting with a lot of brokenness, and this is where God initiates that first step, and he says, "Hey, for God so loved the world that he gave." That he gave. He initiates this first step where he says, "Hey, I'm actually going to solve the problem. I'm actually going to solve the sin problem. I'm actually going to solve this darkness problem, and I'm actually going to send my son." He makes love a verb here, and he actually does something. He does something. And it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes," whoever, it doesn't matter what you've done, what you haven't done, whoever believes, in other words, whoever trusts, whoever just leans in a bit more into God, and it says this, "they will not perish but have eternal life." And I always read this verse, and sometimes I still read it like this, that this is something cool for the future, right? That this is something good, that one day that I'm not really going to die, but even if I do die, I'm going to gain eternal life because I've trusted in Jesus. But this verse is for now as well. This verse shows us that now, as we lean into God, we won't perish, we won't live in our brokenness, because God wants to bring freedom through his son. He's actually paid the way forward to conquer sin. He's died for sin. He's resurrected with sin so that we can have freedom, so that we can live a life of actually peace and joy. And I love this. He says that, hey, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. That's what this church is for. We're for this just because this is what God is for us, and now we want to actually just live with this redemption, with this spirit in us. And today I want to end off with a story that I hope will sort of hit home what this church is all about. And it was a number of years ago, and I don't know how many years ago. I always used to just say the other day in high school, but I've realized now I can't say that anymore because I've actually, been out of high school for a very long time. But it was when I was studying theology. I lived in South Africa, and I lived on a farm, and my desk was right by the window, and as I was studying, I could always stare out the window, and I was just looking at the African bush. I loved the place, and as I was studying, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I was a great theologian, like student. Like I would make sure that if I had assignments, I would make sure my room is completely clean, and I'd procrastinate to like the 9th degree to make sure that, yeah, I'm just doing everything except my assignment. My room was the tidiest, it was the cleanest, and eventually I'd sit down and I'd actually do my assignments. But one day, as I was sitting down behind my desk and I was doing these assignments, I heard some kids screaming and shouting, and I knew, oh, there must be a school group down the road, down the farm road. And I've never actually gone down to go and see what they were up to. But this day I thought, oh, I'll just take a break or procrastinate more, not do my assignment. And I walked down to the dam, which was about 200 meters from the house that I was staying at. And when I arrived there, my friend was there. My friend worked at the bush camp just down the road, where they often got school groups in. And when they got these school groups in, they would do all different leadership activities. And today, on that day, they were doing raft building. So they were building these massive big rafts. And then as a whole team, they were sort of getting on the raft with barrels and wood and whatever, and trying to race against each other across the dam. And I'll never forget this day, because as I was standing there next to my friend just chatting and watching all the high school kids build these rafts and stuff, we saw this one girl who was struggling to swim. And every now and then she'd sort of just go underneath the water. And I looked at my friend, and without any hesitation, we saw, hey, she's really struggling to swim. And behind her, we just saw, man, there's a whole bunch of bubbles behind her. And we both clicked that, hey, she's struggling to swim, and it's probably because someone is underneath the water pulling her down all the time. So we quickly jumped into the dam, swam to the other side. And when I say dam, it was dirty. It's like as brown as ever, very murky. You can't see anything inside. We got there, and the girl was actually okay. She was swimming fine then. But then we had realized that, hey, there must be someone underneath the water here. We still saw a lot of bubbles coming up. So both my friend and I started diving down. I can't remember how deep it was. It was pretty deep. Went down to the bottom. Couldn't find anyone there. Came back up. Caught our breath again. Went down again. Couldn't find anybody. Came back up. Eventually, which seemed like hours, my friend came back up and he said, oh, where's the persons down here? I felt them. And so we both dived down. He came swimming up with this guy. He passed me this young boy in high school, and I could just feel how hard he was already. He was as white as ever. And I swam with him to the shore of the dam. And eventually, just a week earlier, this is crazy, a week earlier we had just done our first aid course, which I thought I'd never ever use. And at that point, I knew exactly what to do. Checked for a pulse, realized he was actually still breathing, and we put him in the recovery position. And a few minutes later, he just started throwing up all this water that he had swallowed from the dam. That day, then, we eventually put him in the car, and we took him to the hospital to make sure that he was okay. Never ever saw him ever again. But that day, something sat with me that has never, I'll never ever forget. I mean, that was a very traumatic thing that had happened. And we realized that, hey, if it was just a few seconds later, or if, there were so many people around, that girl and the other guy all swimming there, and they didn't even realize that that person was drowning. No one even knew. If we hadn't seen, they would have probably just drowned, and no one would have known only until later on that day. And I realized something significant, and I've read up about it, but we always have this visual of drowning because of Baywatch or because of TV, right? Where someone's drowning and they're yelling out. They're screaming out for help. They're waving their hands up and down, and they're saying, help, help, help. But in reality, we know that that isn't the case. Because first of all, when someone's drowning, the biggest thing that they do, the body naturally just grasps for air. And that's what they do. And so often people who are drowning are never ever shouting, and they're never ever waving their hands up and down, because they're just trying to struggle to stay alive and to swim. And this has sat with me for a long time, but it gives me a big picture of what it looks like in our life. When people are actually drowning in our community, it is not people who are shouting out, who are coming to us, who are saying, hey, I'm struggling in life. No, when people are drowning, when people are actually struggling in life, it goes unnoticed unless we are actually in proximity of them, unless we're actually involved in their lives, unless we're actually seeing what is actually happening and actually do something about it. And I love Paul. He writes this text in Romans, and this is what he shares in Romans. If we can put it up, he says this. He says, for everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And I love this verse because, like, hey, whoever calls on the name of the Lord, whoever says, hey, God, I want to lean in, I want to trust in you more, they're going to be saved, they're going to be rescued, they're going to actually have eternal life. But one of the things that Paul goes on to say in this verse is he says this. He says, but how can they call on him to save them unless they believe in him? And he says, and how can they believe in him if they have never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? How can people know about God? How can people know that we're a community that is for them unless we're actually in proximity with them, unless we're actually telling them, unless we're actually voicing out who God is and changing the distorted picture that some people may have of who God is? And it says this then, he goes on and he says, and how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? This is why the scriptures say, how beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news. How beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news. That's what our community is all about. We want to be a community, not just a building, Station J and Sunny Nook, but we want to be a community, each and every one of us, individually, going in the spheres that we actually have influence in and looking for and seeing, hey, where are people that are struggling in life? Where are people that actually need help? And how can we actually move across the room and make a difference? It should bother us as a church continuously when we see that there are people outside of our community who don't know a God who is for them, who loves them, who cares about them, who don't know that actually there's a community that will encourage them, that will journey alongside them, that will love on them. It should bother us. And if this ever stops bothering us as a community, then we have actually lost our vision as a church. We have lost actually what we're all about as a community here. Each and every one of us can take on this challenge that Paul writes about you. And we can go out and actually share that, hey, there's a God who's for you. We're a church who is for you. We care about you. We want to make a difference in your life. We see that, hey, you know, I've never heard you shout out. I've never seen you jump up and down and say, hey, you need saving. But we want to be those people who come so close to you that we can just see it, we can experience it, and we can say, hey, we are for you. We want to care about you. We're a church who loves you because God has loved us. I'm going to get the worship team to come up. And today we're going to end, and I want to end with just this mindset in our heads that we will continue to be a church that is for people. We will continue to be a church that practices and lives out our faith. That we will not be a church that is just consumer driven, that we'll just come here and get filled up and be like, wow, that was good, I can't wait until next Saturday. No, that we'll be a church that actually leaves here and actually says, okay, now how can I practice? How can I put this into action? How can I love on people? How can I join this group? How can I serve? How can I make a difference in this world because of what God has done for us? So I'm going to encourage us all to stand, and we're just going to pray over this. And then we're going to sing this song. And I want to encourage us as we sing this song. It's an old song. It's Oceans. We sang it heaps of times. But it gives us that vision statement of actually, hey, stepping outside of our comfort zone into the faith zone and saying, God, just lead me where your spirit leads me. Maybe there's an area in your life now, you know people in your life now who I will never be able to reach, who none of us will be able to reach except for you. How about you say a prayer today, hey God, can you just use me in that environment? Can you just help me to show those people that I'm for them and that there is a God who is for them? God, today, we've spoken about so many different environments here at Gracegate that are making a difference, but we know more than that, you want to use each and every one of us individually to make a difference in all our different areas, God. And today, we know that there is an undelivered message, because there is a message of hope, of freedom, of love, of grace. And unless we go and actually put love into action, people won't know. Drowning without knowing you, God. And we want to be a church that is for people that can continue to echo your love and saving grace. So today, if you've planted a face, a person, a community, an organization in our hearts and in our minds, I pray that we'll act upon that as we sing this song. God, bring clarity on what is that faith zone that you want us to step into. And may your Spirit continuously be speaking into our lives to take action upon that, is our prayer today. In Jesus' name, amen.